So we're getting ready to take a look at the 2025 Legal Trends Report by Clio. I just finished listening to the keynote speech by Jack Newton. It was mostly focused on the fact that Clio is now transitioning upward to address more of the mid-market and enterprise space. It seems like the enterprise solution is mostly fueled by the two acquisitions that Clio has made in the last 6 or so months. One being ShareDo, which is now rebranded to Clio Operate. This houses all the essential components that a large law firm or corporate in-house legal department would want in order to move their matters forward efficiently. And then there is the acquisition of Vincent, which is not being rebranded, still will be named Vincent. Within the Clio platform, you're able to directly access a huge library of primary documents as well as secondary documents that allow lawyers to analyze the facts of the case and use real legal documents in order to adjust their legal strategy rather than using a generic GPT. So that claims to be the big move there. But I'm interested in unpacking the Clio Legal Trends Report, which I have here, going old school, got it printed version. So every year I read this report and I'm fascinated to see what trends the individuals at Clio have spotted within the market. Clio is by far the most widely used practice management system across pretty much small and sized firms. So as a result, they have a tremendous amount of data that they track within the platform from their users. They have time entries, narratives, the actions and tasks that firms are doing to push their matters from open to completion. And they're able to use this data, of course, anonymize and aggregate it in order to give us a sneak behind the curtain at the evolving pace of legal innovation. So it's always pretty interesting. So I'm just going to read the report and give you my reaction to things that are noteworthy and provide a little commentary from a legal technology consultant's perspective. So let's dive in. Rapid transformation. So that's interesting. One of the key questions that the introduction poses is, how can law firms continue to compete in the legal space when tasks that historically took longer can now be done in a fraction of the time? So that's a question that a lot of my clients are contending with right now, especially the hourly based firms, when they're looking to increase their efficiency so that they can deliver better outcomes for their clients, but they're also recognizing that this could potentially erode the classical hourly billing model. So it's very interesting. I'm curious to see what the Clio folks have noticed. You know, this is a question that many of my clients are still grappling with, and there is no de facto answer yet that has emerged. And many firms are trying various strategies, hybrid billing models, or some firms are increasing their hourly rate in order to take advantage of the efficiencies of AI. I know many of my clients have reported directly to me that their clients and potential clients have specifically requested that AI be used in their matter. So what we're seeing is that consumers are becoming more savvy. They understand the technology's advantages, and they want those same advantages that they're using for their at-home based tasks, like creating a grocery list or writing your children's bedtime stories. They want those same capabilities to be applied to their legal matters, because they understand that this technology can drastically decrease the time it takes from nothing to having a drafted document. So there are these certain tenets of legal that are especially ripe for automation and AI, and consumers are starting to expect and in some cases demand this. So interesting. So they're stating a Bloomberg law survey in which 42% of the attorneys indicated that they felt burnt out in their profession, and they're linking legal technology to better brain functioning and higher levels of satisfaction. So that's interesting. At surface level, it would seem to be compatible with my thesis, which is that there are many tasks that automation and AI can take over, in which were previously things that lawyers weren't particularly happy to perform. But the problem is that another big challenge is skill atrophy. And this is the concept of an attorney becoming less proficient performing tasks that the AI is now taken over. A good example of that in a separate domain is mathematics. Basic arithmetic is taking a major hit, and the populace is definitely becoming less proficient. at being able to perform simple addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division in their head. Now, the million-dollar question is, are these skills useful in a world where we're interconnected and we all have devices in our pockets pretty much at any moment where we can perform these calculations without the need to know how to do the mental math? So there's two components of it to me. It's the satisfaction of getting tasks done, but also it is the question of what tasks should remain within the bounds of what an attorney would perform in order to increase their professional development, make them more proficient, more skilled. And that is, to me, that's the question. Yeah, interesting. We knew that ChatGPT is the most widely used AI platform, but it's obviously a general tool that is not trained on in the legal specific domain. So the results are not nearly as accurate as a purpose-built tool. There are a lot of options out there for AI solutions, and lawyers do tend to struggle with having, this information overload, which causes analysis paralysis. So this is interesting. There's this concept of the latent legal market, which is an increasing trend that I hear different individuals, professionals talking about. This is essentially stating that there are problems that remain unsolved, that there's a demand for, but the consumers don't see these problems as being accessible to have a traditional lawyer in a traditional billing model solved. So there's this concept that if we can decrease the friction required for a lawyer to generate insights and actionable insights for their clients, it will create higher demand. In Jack Newton's keynote, he mentioned that right now the legal market is a $1 trillion market. And he estimated that if lawyers can increase their usage of AI to drive down the cost of delivering legal services, that market could potentially reach a $4 trillion total addressable market, which is, that's a 4x increase. So 4x the revenue for firms, 4x the amount of work. So as long as firms can nail down the dynamic of how to complete that work in a time frame that's compatible with the economics of running a profitable firm, there's real opportunity on the table there. The question is, what are those tasks right now? That's the thing I would like to know. And if you're an attorney out there who has experienced scenarios where you were unable to help your client just because of the economics of the situation, comment down below. I'd love to know what those latent legal market tasks are, because to me, those are the things that we should be designing our services of tomorrow to be able to cater to, so we can deliver those services more efficiently. So yeah, they're describing their methodology for testing. So they use Clio data, analyze and aggregate it from within their internal client base, and they also independently surveyed 1,700 legal professionals. Okay, these are 1,200 Clio clients and about 500 market panel respondents. Interesting. And then they surveyed 1,000 US adults who represent consumers of legal services. It's interesting. Oh wow. They perform neurological scanning. We work with NeuroInsight to conduct a neurological study of 63 legal professionals using patented steady state topography SST. Interesting. They're analyzing electrical brain activity to access cognitive load across a variety of tasks. Okay, so I did hear in Jack's keynote he referenced context switching and how that's negatively impacting lawyers' efficiency. So I wonder if this is where they get that, where they're able to determine the lawyer's mental workload. I'm a big aviation enthusiast, and we always talk about reducing pilot workload. There are fewer mistakes that are made, and a pilot can operate in a higher overall state of proficiency if they can reduce their workload. That's why we have things like autopilot systems that can automatically hold your altitude at a specified level. So this would make sense if we have tools that can reduce lawyer workload, then ideally we can get higher quality output out of those same professionals. So they have this cohort that they're labeling growing firms, and they're saying that the revenue in these growing firms is beyond average levels. They've doubled their revenues over 4 years, but they only 50% increase their matters in their workload. So that's interesting, because essentially they're squeezing more out of the same lemon. So I always talk about the concept of creating perceptible value for your clients. It is all about accelerating cash flow so that you can solve as many problems for your client as they have within your specific legal domain. And then as a result of solving those problems, anticipating what those problems are going to be down the road and solving for those with your legal services model, then you get to collect more cash. So that is interesting. I would love to see what these firms who have doubled their revenues but only 50% increased on their matters and workload. I would imagine that these are basic economical principles that if you solve problems for your client, you create perceptible value, and then that value translates into billing potential. Now we get into the measuring the impact of AI component. So I'm gonna be especially interested to see what this says. We got a lot of charts and data already. So in this study, in this Harvard study, 12% more tasks were completed by the AI augmented cohort, the individuals who are using AI. And they did those tasks 25% faster. And they also produced 40% higher quality work. So that's interesting because, AI does not always create those efficiency gains. Like I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen many reports that show actually a decrease in productivity via AI's use. And all of that can be summed up by the fact that you have to have an intentional strategy around deploying AI within your firm. You must not merely implement AI to keep pace with the market or to keep up with the Joneses. You have to have a dedicated issue or constraint or bottleneck within your firm that you're looking to solve for. AI then comes in handy to help you do that. These growing firms are using 162% more automation than shrinking firms and 100% more automation than stable firms. And one of the things they cite is that these repetitive tasks, yes, maybe some of them could potentially be billable tasks, but a lot of these tasks are what beat down your staff time and time again. These tasks that don't require a ton of expertise in order to accomplish, but they're just rote data entry tasks. Those are the tasks that are ripe for automation. Some of the examples of those tasks: automated consultation bookings, document drafting, summarization of documents, prioritization of tasks, and drafting client communications. Yeah, especially drafting client communications. I mean, that is such a high leverage, high ROI activity because clients typically, if you talk to individuals at pretty much any professional responsibilities board, I'm here in Illinois, so I frequently have conversations with the Illinois ARDC. One of the top two complaints are attorneys who are not responsive to their clients or attorneys stealing money. Like those are the top two things that attorneys get in trouble for. So if you can simply reduce the friction required in order to update your clients, you wind up increasing your client experience, which means you drive more value. And of course, that means they dispute less of your bills. So win-win, and this is something that it boggles my mind that more lawyers do not take advantage of automations with drafting client communications. It's a big win there. That's interesting. So the employment rates for law graduates is at an all-time high, 93%, and they are largely attributing that to the fact that legal is specifically positioned as a profession to take advantage of the efficiencies gained by AI to not replace lawyers, support staff, but to augment their workflow to make them more critical so that you can ensure that these individuals are working on higher value decision and judgment based tasks rather than simply rote data entry. So there's actually a higher demand for legal professionals. Other professions, there has been a decline if they particularly have a large surface for AI to be able to automate a majority of the workflow. There's a 13% decline in employment in those professions that are more exposed to AI. So it's interesting because this report is basically indicating that there is a large cohort of attorneys who believe AI is enhancing their legal practice by either making them more efficient, reducing cost, and then it's interesting there's only 22% of those individuals who are using AI are experiencing revenue increases. So I would be curious to see how what AI platforms are being leveraged and then for what tasks are they being used for. Now the interesting thing about it is that there is a statistic, few legal professionals attributed accuracy as a benefit to improving revenue, suggesting that they're confident in their ability to avoid errors in their work. So there's this natural tendency of hubris in the legal profession for lawyers to feel like they are immune to some of the flaws of the technology and the hallucination, which is why so many lawyers have fallen prey to hallucination and inaccuracy in cited cases and things of that nature. So that's one thing for legal professionals to keep in mind, which is that these tools, often if you have inflated levels of confidence in your ability to navigate, that's something that could potentially create issues, and you may be the one that winds up having inaccuracy in your work product. That's just how averages work. I mean, just like if you've seen the driving studies out there where most respondents indicate that they are better than average drivers. Well, the way averages work is that most people cannot be better than average. Yeah, this is interesting. So this cognitive load assessment, they've found that the repetition of small menial tasks can be the driver of cognitive load that builds up over time. These attorneys, one, while they're actively practicing during the day, they are constantly switching from one context to another, one application window, email, to your case management system, to your document management system, to your e-filing, state court platform, whatever it may be. And all of these tasks are contributing to that cognitive load. Yeah, it looks like a different study found that on average there's 9.5 minutes required to reorient after you context switch. And that, they were saying, in a given week adds up to about 4 hours of context switching and reorienting. You imagine how that adds up over time, and seriously hurts the firm from a billable hours perspective, but also from an efficiency perspective. Yeah, that's interesting. They list the demotivators. So they have all of these tasks grouped by things that motivate and demotivate lawyers. And one of the top things, unsurprisingly, is billing tasks. So I know that one of the most strenuous tasks is contemporaneous timekeeping, but it's essential if you want to create an accurate record of what actually happened, just to decrease the amount of write-offs that clients are requesting. Because of course, the faster, the more current you can get bills out in relation to when the work was actually done, then the fewer disputes you have. So that's one of the highest areas there. Work overload, fatigue, client-related frustrations, those are all the demotivators. The motivators, positive relationships with clients, intellectual challenges and the ability to problem solve. And of course, those intellectual challenges, those are challenges relating to the legal profession, in which a lawyer is having to problem solve to arrive at a unique conclusion, outcome, or perspective. This is not necessarily the challenge of working within a convoluted system that's overly complex. Okay, so this study, they're having 63 attorneys perform various legal tasks, and they are using they're performing the task twice, both while they're being analyzed with this neuroelectrical system that's going to be monitoring them. So the first task is a control. They're doing it in the standard way. And then the second task, they're performing this task within Clio. So my red flags are going up, because I'm wondering, one, if these 63 attorneys are Clio clients, because if they are, I would imagine that the cognitive load would be lower just because of familiarity with using the Clio platform. Conversely, if they are not Clio clients, I wonder if that would influence the results. And I would imagine this would influence the results and increase the cognitive load, because not only are they learning a new platform or a new way of using a new tool and performing a task, but they're also performing that task. So let's see what the results come back saying. They actually address this directly here. That's what happens when you make conclusions before getting all the information. 48% are lawyers, so they're not all lawyers. 48% are lawyers, 30% are paralegals, 13 are managerial or admin, and 23% of those were Clio users, and 77% were other, but all of them had used a practice management software in the past. Okay, all right, so the domains are client intake. They're analyzing the fact pattern and logging the details in a spreadsheet versus within Clio Grow. Matter creation, so there's a slip and fall case. They are entering the information into a spreadsheet and a time tracker with a rate of 350 per hour. Okay, got it. They're generating a work in progress report. Got it. And then they're summarizing documents. Summarizing a 6-page will being contested to inform the beneficiary what this would mean for their case. Got it. Let's see what the results are. What happened? So emotional strain, 16% reduction on the intake, client intake, 9% reduction on matter creation, 4% increase on work in progress report. Interesting. And 9% increase in document summarization. Am I interpreting this properly? That's interesting. So So I am interpreting that properly. They were saying, now this report, so intake and matter creation, the emotional strain went down for those. Now with creating the reports and the document summarization, the emotional strain went up. But they're saying this could likely be due to the fact that using novel technology is exciting, and that could be triggering a false positive there. So active focus, no surprise here. Matter creation, there was a 25% reduction in active focus. Makes sense. You're automating a lot of those initial tasks like assigning custom billing rates, creating a matter number, aggregating all the client contact information. That all makes sense. Work in progress report, same thing, generating a report. I mean, that's obviously much simpler. If you have all the data that already exists in the case management system, and all you're doing is clicking a button to output those results. So that makes sense as well. Like this is nothing groundbreaking here. Reduces memory demand in document review. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't find that report particularly compelling. It was sort of more standard information. But this is interesting. I think that's gonna do it for the first section. I just got through, 53 pages? Let me see, what are my thoughts so far? I believe that what I'm hearing is that there's a big emphasis on restructuring legal service models. That is, there's a larger emphasis than previous years. I remember last year after ClioCon, the whole theme was the death of the billable hour. And we obviously have seen that that's not true. So I'm curious to see, well, I should say that's not entirely true. The billable hour did not die over the last year, and I would imagine that it probably will not die anytime soon. I do think that the billable hour is definitely losing its position as the dominant legal services billing model. So for example, most of the prospective clients that I interface with who are beginning new firms, I would say a large majority of them are not even considering an hourly billable model as a viable option for their firm. They're opting instead for flat fees or subscription models or hybrid models in which they create various phases and bill a flat fee for those phases and then have escalations, which would occur if the case takes a different direction than initially intended or than initially understood. So I think there's definitely an emphasis more on how do firms create a legal services model that's compatible with the new technology. Let's face it, I think firms are now understanding that the technology is here to stay. I remember watching an interview, it was Brian King, I believe his name was, and he has I think it was around 100-person law firm, and he was being questioned about how all of this fits into his legal services model and whether this meant that individuals like paralegals were less of a necessary component for his law firm. And the interesting thing was his comments where he was saying he's restructuring his services, his legal service delivery model. Paralegals are no longer simply just paralegals. They've transitioned into a new role where he's relying on them more. They're operating as case managers, controlling the flow of information between the firm and clients, handling all of the communications, and then they're querying AI in order to gather insights and answer questions in real time rather than waiting on an attorney. So attorneys essentially are performing the drafting and the judgment, appearing in court, and all of the tasks that require an attorney. So it's interesting to hear the various perspectives and how this information is landing with lawyers, as I'm always looking to see how can we create the efficiency. But now the real question is, it seems that the efficiency, most are under the impression that the efficiency opportunity is in fact real. It's a matter of how do we implement this technology without eroding our ability to remain a profitable law firm. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that I've seen right now. We're seeing that the cognitive load on attorneys and legal professionals decreases when they're properly employing technology to augment their work. We're seeing that legal work is not going anywhere, that there's a larger demand being created for legal work, and that there's a larger demand for attorneys, right? I know initially back in the early days of large language models and AI, namely 2022, this technology really was seen as a potential threat to the legal market. Like as we know, lawyers have had a monopoly on legal services market. And now there was a real risk that that model is potentially unwinding. And I do think that smart firms are starting to get hip to the fact that they can increase access to justice by creating resources and self-help services for their clients to interface with their law firm so that they can leverage the institutional knowledge that the firm has, which is arguably one of the most valuable things that the firm owns, and then using that in order to inform and create legal strategy. So we're definitely seeing firms looking to understand how they can innovate, remain ahead of the curve, but also keep their profitability. So yeah, it's been interesting so far. I'm impressed by what I'm seeing in this report, and I am really going to be looking forward to getting through the other, I guess I'm about a third of the way through, so the other 2/3, I'm interested to see what comes next. And of course, as we always do, we love to take the billing and fee information, and every year we update our billable rate comparison tool. So if you're an attorney who is looking to analyze what your competitors are charging and ultimately determine if your firm is billing within the average rates in your market, you can go to our website. The link will be listed below, and you can go ahead and use that tool. It's completely free, and I think it'll give you some great insight into your legal services pricing schedule. So if you enjoy content like this, make sure to follow me on LinkedIn and subscribe to Paragon Tech's YouTube channel, where we host long format videos discussing various topics relating to improving your law firm's operations. AI, technology, automation, you name it, it's all there. All right, this has been it for this one. If you like the format, let me know in the comments that you would like more of this. If you did not like this, let me know to never do this again, and I will take it under advisement. All right, that'll do it for this one. See you on the next one.